What is up, folks? Welcome to the latest episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. I'm your gracious host, as always, Harold McBasketball, along with my co-host, I Know Ball Paul. Paul, we're back. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's been a few months, guys. It's tough being 7 hours apart, but it feels very good to be back. It's going to be a once in a while thing, but when we can swing it, we're always happy to talk ball. And yeah, I'm glad to be back, and hopefully there'll be some more content coming. I might try to do a solo video. Anyway, I'm rambling. How's it going with you, Mr. Harry?
All good, all good. Yeah, it's good to be back. Maybe this will kind of get us back into the rhythm because we do need to kind of find a new cadence because we used to be able to just do it whenever. And now we need to be like very strategic about kind of like doing it on weekends, doing it a little bit earlier on my time. Because obviously there's a pretty big time zone difference there, but this seems to be working. So we'll see what we can do. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been an awesome NBA season so far. So I'm just excited to kick back, talk ball a little bit, go through some key topics, talk about some players, some teams. We're kind of just gonna wing it, talk about our favorite things from the season so far. And let's just get into it. So, one that I really want to talk about that I think has been like really interesting so far this season is the Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle trade. I feel like that's kind of had enough time to marinate now. There were a lot of differing opinions on the subject matter. Like when it first happened, everyone was like, well, Julius Randle, not a great player necessarily, doesn't always contribute to winning, but a lot of people felt the same way about Cat. So a lot of people kind of thought it was a wash, even trade. Clearly not the case. And I was saying this is offseason. I was like, this is absurd. Cat is way better. That is clearly the case. He's been amazing for the Knicks. He's like easily going to be an all-star. I'd say like potentially all-star starter for the East at center. And he's been incredible. The Knicks look amazing. They look even better than last year, even though they're third in the standings, still behind Celtics and Cavs. And I think it was a total home run for the Knicks to get Cat for Randall, and an absolute disaster for the Timberwolves, who were at essentially the top of the standings all of last year, had a deep playoff run with that team, and now they're looking at the play-in tournament after the swap with Cat for Randall. So I think it's super interesting. It looks like a complete rip-off of a trade right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think when the trade happened, I went into kind of contrarian mode and I was like, this isn't too bad for the Timberwolves. I love Dante DiVincenzo and I think he's finally hitting a rhythm, but he hasn't been nearly what we saw from him in like the second half of the season last year and in the playoffs. And Julius Randle is just being himself in the worst way possible. And the Timberwolves have looked, I think, a bit better in the last four games. They're 3-1. Ant's been popping off since kind of that double team comment against the Celtics. He's been really good. But that being said, what are they like? Almost even on the season, maybe a bit better. They're 20 and
Yeah.
18, so the Timberwolves are struggling, whereas the Knicks are thriving. Karl Anthony Towns looks like his prime Timberwolves years. I think he's averaging like what is it, like 25 and
Yeah, I've got
14.
yeah, 14 rebounds is insane because I got it down that he was averaging 8 rebounds per game last year, and pretty much for his entire Timberwolves stretch because I think that just naturally happens when you're playing next to Gobert, who gets every rebound in sight. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like his rebounding skills almost got like lost being on the Timberwolves, and now you see it on the Knicks where it's like 14 rebounds per game is insane. Like I don't I don't know who's leading the league in rebounds right now, but like legitimately could be him.
Yeah, I can't really think of anyone else off the top of my head, but and it's just the way he's playing. I mean, I've on the Timberwolves, like just watching him play, he was just sitting on the 3-point line and then he would kind of like just force himself into the lane. And I don't know, I really soured on him, even though he was playing pretty efficiently and just his shooting was clearly very undervalued there for the Timberwolves. But now he's just the dynamic offense is back and the way he's playing is really, really cool to see. So I was very wrong about his impact on on the Knicks, and I was wrong on both fronts because I think I was also saying that this wouldn't be too bad for the Timberwolves. I think I even said that they would like kind of be kind of the same as, they would be with Cat. So I'm kind of eating my words there, but it is cool to see Karl Anthony Towns get the star treatment now that he's in a big market.
Yeah, totally. It's a great spot
Thriving.
for him too. Like so marketable in New York. I just checked out. He is leading the league in rebounds and he's shooting 45% from three, which is ridiculous. He's always been an amazing 3-point shooter.
Oh,
But it's awesome to see like his volume essentially go up, but like him to still be incredibly efficient. And I do think he's taking less threes per game as well, which is cool. It just goes to show there's playing through him more. Whereas like in Minnesota, he was like spotting up a lot. Gobert would be in the paint, so he couldn't really work down there. Whereas now with this like Knicks team, which is like amazing defense and amazing spacing, it's like he can play down low. He can also take his threes. He can really do whatever he wants on offense. He's got all the freedom in the world to do so. And he's taking full advantage. Like him and Brunson are an amazing duo. And like, yeah, I think Cat's probably gonna be an all-star starter, which is amazing because he's just super talented.
yeah. Yeah. And I think, yeah, he had a tough few years, I think, with some off the court stuff, and there were injuries and I don't know, there was some sad stuff with COVID. So I think he's just kind of slowly gotten back in form, and now he's just fully back to this the superstar that he is. So I can't say enough good things about Cat. And yeah, the Knicks, I'm still not gonna go all in on them. I think I don't see them as like a super legit contender coming out of the East. I still think they're kind of in the tier below. Just because I don't know, I kind of doubt their depth. But Brunson and Cat, those guys are awesome. There's a nice points distribution there with OG, Josh Hart, and Mikal. But then after that, there's not much depth, and I'm not a huge like Mikal and OG guy. Josh Hart, I love, and I love
Josh
when
Hart's having an insane year.
he is.
Josh Hart is
Yeah.
actually amazing right now. Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. It's like I think the Knicks are definitely better than they were last year, and I think they've got a better chance of beating, a team like the Celtics. But the Celtics are just like so good in the East, where it's like nobody's really in that tier. Even a team like the Cavs, who've been like incredible, they never lose. They've by far the best record in the East. Even them, I'm like, if they go against the Celtics in the playoffs, I don't really know how that would go. But they
Well,
also look really good.
we'll
That
have
could
to
be a
talk about it.
segue. That could be a segue. The Cavs are on my list of like teams I want to talk about because they've obviously just been absolutely dynamite this entire season. Like, let me get the standings up here. But yeah, they're 33-4. They only have 4 losses on the entire season. 10-0 in their last 10. Like the win streaks, I think the win streak's longer than that actually. They're on a super long win streak.
I think it's 12 now.
Yeah, and the team just looks really good. And like in particular, like what I think is awesome that they're doing this year they didn't do last year was like it's like last year it felt like Donovan Mitchell like carried the entire offense. Like his stats were amazing, but I think that kind of hurt Mobley and Garland just because they weren't really getting the touches and the rhythm. And it's like Garland's having like his best season ever right now. He's been amazing. I think Garland could also be an all-star this year. I think he'll have an argument to get in at the end of that. But it's gonna be tough with the Cavs because they have so many good players. Like it almost feels like it's like Garland has a shot to be an all-star. Mitchell definitely will be. Mobley will be in consideration. Even Allen like could be in consideration.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get all four, and so like Allen will probably get the short end of the stick just because people love to look at points and he just averages the least points out of all of them. But he's also been incredible. It's legitimately just an amazing team. Like they essentially have 4 fringe all stars in their starting lineup, and yet they're dynamite. Like their big men are just so good on defense, and then Mitchell and Garland just shoot the lights out. I love this team. It's super fun to watch.
Yeah, no, the Cavs have been amazing, and I think they are very legitimate contenders, and I am a bit scared of them. Obviously, as a Celtics fan and knowing what our team is, I'm confident that we could beat them, but I think they could give us a run for their money. And like you said, yeah, they might have 3, maybe 4 All-Stars. I think more likely 2 or 3, but I see Mobley as 8th in the front court votes, and then Mitchell is 2nd. Garland is 9th, and I think with like the coaching and media, those guys might get bumped a bit too. But yeah, like you said, it's just way like smoother this year. I think Garland was dealing with injuries, but he's now I think he's averaging like 20.
I think 22 points per game right now.
Yeah, man, similar production as Mitchell. Honestly, he's averaging like 21 and 7. Mitchell's like 23 and 5. So
Yeah,
they're
it's way more.
lighting it up.
Yeah, it's way more of a timeshare because I think last year Mitchell was getting almost like 30 points per game, but like
Oh
Garland was
yeah.
really struggling with his efficiency. So it's way more of just like a timeshare in the top in the front court now, which it's just way better for the team, and the production is undeniable for the Cavs right now.
It's that Kenny Atkinson offense. And then Mobley's like tremendously improved. Like he's gone from I think
Totally.
15 to like 19 points a game, while still being like the defensive superstar that he is. I
Yeah.
think he's shooting like 40% from three. So
Yeah. He's the third option on the offense too. Like if he was like the second option on a team or the first option, like he'd be averaging more points. Like he could be over 20 if this team wasn't just like so stacked with offensive firepower.
yeah, and they have a little bit of depth there. They have Ty
Do they?
Jerome's kind of stepped up. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of nice. And then obviously they have Karras off the bench too, who's like, just like a very prototypical sixth man. But
Max Strus, Dean Wade is kind of an
true.
interesting player. I mean,
I don't love their depth. That's like my biggest issue with them. Was like I don't know if I love it. It's like after you get past Levert, I'm like, I think it's good enough. Like I think they could still totally get to the finals with it. But like I do kind of wish they had like one more guy off the bench where I'm like an awesome like backup big. Like I feel like they don't really have like, and granted they can just like stagger Mobley and Allen to essentially make that work. Like they don't need a ton of minutes from like a backup
yeah,
big man, but I feel like it does like dry up like pretty quickly after Levert.
that is fair. Yeah, because like Dean Wade and he's not really a true big. He's kind of undersized, but he is a very sneaky kind of good role player. And George Niang,
They do have Niang. You're right. You're right. They have good shooters off the bench, which is actually kind of all you really need. You just have some guys that are going to come in and hit threes, kind of like the Celtics have Hauser. Like that's actually super valuable.
but yeah, no, I fully expect Cavs Celtics at this point in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks are probably kind of the third team there, and then we can talk maybe Bucks or Sixers at this point feel like quite a stretch. Same with the Pacers.
I don't even know if the Sixers are getting to the play-in tournament at this point. Like,
Man,
I forgot how many games Embiid has played. I checked the other day. I think he's played like 9 games.
yeah. Yeah, we can double check that, but Embiid,
13 games, sorry. But yeah, Embiid is just like he's hardly playing. And when he doesn't play, the Sixers just always lose. They cannot win without him. So yeah, they're a little bit of a mess right now. It's not like the most unforeseen thing ever. Obviously they like looked really good on paper after signing Paul George, but Paul George has missed a lot of time. Maxey at the start of the year missed like a month and a half. Embiid is just like missing so many games right now. So the guys just aren't playing. Like I think Maxey, George, and Embiid have only played a handful of games together this season.
yeah, but that's true. But I feel like there's been plenty of games with Maxi, George, and kind of that group of solid role players where they are still underperforming, and it's bad vibes in Philly, which is not unusual. But I feel like even given that Embiid has missed so many games, they've disappointed even further. Like it's just bad vibes in Philly. Every time I tune into a Philly game, Nick Nurse is like about to off himself. He's just always angry and whining and like I'm like, oh, this is such a good team on paper. Like, why can't they just figure it out? Like, I don't.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things where it's like I feel like it almost happens a lot where teams will kind of like add an old all-star and like the name value is amazing on paper and then it just like doesn't quite work because like although like Paul George is actually still like pretty good, definitely not his best season. He's not what he was probably like 5 years ago, definitely not 10 years ago, which would be fine for this team with him as a third option. But like, I don't know, it's almost like he's not even just gluing. Like it's like him and Maxey can play well and they can still lose by like 20. I just don't know what's happening with this team.
Yeah, I mean, Paul George is I think the one that's most underperforming. Like, I have him in fantasy, and
Yeah.
a good game for him is like 15 to 20 points, and like he'll grab rebounds. But like on that team, if it's just him and Maxi, you would hope for like 25 plus points. And yeah, I don't know. I love their roster. I was very hot on them coming into this season, even knowing that Embiid would probably be unavailable for a lot of the season. I was like Caleb Martin, Yabusele.
And Yabu's been kind of good too, which is funny.
Oh, Yabu's been awesome.
Like he's been like more than they could have ever asked for him.
Yeah, they have like Kelly Oubre. They have some nice veterans there. Like the veterans don't contribute much, but like they look good on paper.
Yeah.
Lowry, Reggie Jackson, Eric Gordon. So like, yeah, no, it's bad, and I think I don't know. And it's funny how like the public opinion on Paul George has shifted so quickly. How he was kind of the good apple leaving the Clippers, and now it's kind of like he was the bad apple, and the Clippers are doing better without him. So.
Yeah, I mean, not like the Clippers are all that right now, but they're doing just fine without him, especially considering Kawhi has missed so much time. Um, yeah, to kind of put a bow on the Sixers, yeah, they're just a little bit disappointing, and it's always we always need to just be more cautious when we see teams just adding these old stars because there's always just like a big possibility of meltdown or they just lose a step and all of a sudden the team's not as good. They don't have the chemistry. It's tough to build that up when the new player's not doing too great. It feels a little bit like the Nets team, where it's like that team came together and it was like it's like they were just like never playing. They never got the chemistry, and then it just fell apart immediately.
Yeah, no, I agree, but just I love Maxi so much as a player. It's still surprising to see, but I think all that being said, they're 15 and 21. There's time for things to kind of turn around.
Yeah, and the East sucks. The East is terrible
Yeah.
right now. Like the right now the Pistons have been a fun story this year. We don't need to like dive into them in this episode, but like the Pistons are the eighth seed and they're 20 and 19. Like they could like you're telling me the 76ers can't catch up to the Pacers right now. Or sorry, the Pistons. They most certainly can. Like the Bulls have the 10th seed. Like they can at least get into the play-in tournament. They're 3 games back of the Bulls right now. So
Yeah.
I think ultimately they'll find a way into the play-in tournament, and then we'll kind of see from there. But it does feel like they're kind of like fast track to like best case scenario lose in the first round.
Yeah. No, I'm not hot on the vibes there in South Philly. So yeah, we can put a bow on it. Who
Speaking
should
of,
we talk about next?
I got another good one. Like speaking of just like old stars and teams falling apart, I feel like the Heat are kind of a good one to talk about right now. It's like Jimmy Butler's in the middle of an 8-game suspension for pretty much just saying he hates the Heat and wants to be traded, and all of this just stems from the Heat essentially not giving him a max extension, which makes a lot of sense. Jimmy Butler's 35 at this point. Like you're not going to give him $50 million a year for the next 4 years. And he's still under contract next year too. Like the extension would like put him through like 40 essentially because he still has a player option next year, I think for 52 million. So he's got a hefty contract already. He's already being paid nicely, but regardless, if he wants to be out of there, he does this all the time. This is like fairly standard. Um, but it is an interesting thing because I don't know what's going to happen. Because I think any NBA team would be insane to trade for Jimmy Butler at this point. I would not want him. He's not worth the assets. He's certainly not worth the money right now. So I think we're gonna find ourselves in like a weird situation where I think 2 weeks from now when his suspension is up, that the Heat aren't gonna be able to trade him, and they're gonna have to try to make it work for the next 2 seasons until he can walk. Because I don't think anybody will trade for him. I just don't think it's feasible.
Yeah, because I think next year he has like a player option for like 50 million or something.
Yeah, and he's gonna take that. He's gonna take that money.
Yeah, I'm usually like I'm a players guy. I'm like I usually take the side of the players, but in this situation, I'm like, dude, you're under contract. You accepted the deal. The deal didn't set the deal doesn't come with an automatic extension. And granted, I don't know the details, blah blah blah, but I know the history there with Jimmy and kind of being disgruntled, and I think it's just I don't know. I'm like Miami's a great place to live. It seems like a cool team to play for. Like they're not a terrible roster there. Like he can. I'm not saying they're contending for a championship, but he can be the focal point on a pretty nice roster. And I think it's a bit of a shame that he's kind of taken this route. And I say that not knowing obviously what could have transpired or the details there, but it looks kind of like he's being a bit petty with, you're under contract, you have a player option for 50 million, like just play it through and then the offseason is, the time to discuss this kind of stuff. So
Yeah, for sure. And he's making good money right now. Like the Heat gave him a ton of money to play there. And they've been playing well in the playoffs the last couple of years. Like it's a nice roster they have right now. Hero's having by far his best year. Like he could be a fringe all-star guy. Bam's usually an all-star. They traded for Terry Rozier. He hasn't been great, but like it's still a nice player to have on the team. Like it's a good roster. Like when I look around the league, I'm like, wow, like if a team was going to try to trade for Jimmy Butler, like what's the best fit? What team makes the most sense for him? And it's like the Heat still make the most sense. This is by far like the best fit for him. They're paying him. things were great until they started getting mad about not getting a contract extension. But like, it's so early to be thinking about contract extensions when you still have $50 million next year, and you're just a little bit older, Jim. You need to like understand that, there's probably not a team out there that's going to give you a max contract through the age of 40 if you're not LeBron James.
Yeah, man, and you're in Miami, bro. But I think it'll be interesting to see if guys like Jovic or Jaime Jaquez Jr. will step up and take on a bigger role. I would like to see Terry do a little better, considering I have him in fantasy, but I think that might be a lost cause.
I have Hawkins right now. Hawkins has actually been like pretty good without Butler recently. So I will say if they do trade him, that would be kind of beneficial for my fantasy team. But like I said, I don't really see a world where it happens. Like I saw for like a second there was a rumor like the Rockets were going to consider it, and I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like you've got all these like great young pieces. You're the second seed right now. Don't risk blowing it up by adding Butler, who could be disgruntled within a month. And also, I just don't think like the team would get any better by adding Butler to it. Like he's just like he doesn't bring any shooting. The team is second in the West right now. The time will probably come for them to pull the trigger on a superstar at some point. But I don't think Jimmy Butler is the guy for the Rockets. I saw the Warriors in discussions that didn't make any sense either. So there's no way it's gonna happen. There's no way he gets traded.
It's funny because I saw a report that said the Suns are like desperately want Butler, and it's like, yeah, no shit, you guys do because you have the worst contract in the
Yeah,
league
yeah. You
that you
literally have
would,
like the worst contract ever in Bradley Beal.
and the Heat aren't taking that. So,
Yeah. Which is also a funny thing that we nailed. We said that immediately after that trade. We were both just like, this is a terrible trade. I don't know why they're adding Beal.
oh yeah,
Yeah, this feels like a good time to transition to the West because we're talking West now. We're talking about the Suns, the Rockets. Sorry to our fan who commented at the start of the year and was like, no, the Suns are going to be really good this year. You guys ranked them too low. And they were very good the first 2 weeks of the year. And we kind of joked that maybe he was right. But no, the Suns suck. This is what we foresaw. And yeah, they are currently 11th right now in the West. Um, they just moved Nurkic to come off the bench along with Bradley Beal,
yeah.
which is just such a desperation play because it's not like they've got better guys on their bench to play. It essentially moves Mason Plumlee into the starting lineup. And I think maybe Grayson Allen. I'm not entirely. No, sorry. They moved in their rookie small forward who's actually like not too bad. But
Yeah, I forget his name.
me too, me too. But he's a fine player. But he's not like I don't know. Like that hurts. He's not great by any means. Yeah, this team is just like a disaster. I don't really know exactly what it is. They just have a lot of bad contracts or just aren't playing well. So because of that, they have no depth. Katie and Booker are still good, but their defense is just an absolute disaster, as expected. Yeah, this team sucks. This team's sad. Kind of hate them.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add there except for the Nurkic thing is kind of interesting. I think he got ruled out with an illness, but he had a couple DNPs there where he was listed as available. So I don't know if that's maybe a story to keep an eye on. Otherwise, it just seems like the Tyus Jones fit is not that good. I will give you your flowers there. That may be an undersized
Like
playmaker,
I said, it's terrible.
not great in this day and age. I still like him as a player, blah, blah, blah. But he's a backup point guard.
Yeah, I will die on this hill. Both of the Twins are just the worst starting point guards in the league.
Yeah, I don't think the other one starts. And I don't know if they're twins.
No, no, not anymore. I didn't mean to say twins. Sorry, brothers. And you're right. The other one does not start, but he was starting for a little while at one point, I think.
Yeah.
Not this year, like a year or two ago. Yeah, not here nor there, but mini victory lap for me for saying that they suck. Not that that was like super hard to predict, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's the Suns. The Suns are sad. We'll kind of see where that goes. I would say like other interesting teams to highlight. We kind of brought up the Rockets recently.
They
The only
are
thing
second in the West.
I cannot believe it, man, because we've both been saying the Rockets have an awesome roster for a while, and this could be a year where they kind of get out of that like play-in tier into like the actual 1 through 6 seeds. But I think I had them ranked at like 6 maybe going into the year, which I thought was like kind of ambitious. And now they're second. They're incredible, second best team in the West. Their defense is absolutely insane. Amen Thompson is super fun, maybe one of the most fun players in the league to watch. He's just maybe the best athlete in the league. It'll be interesting to see if he ever figures out a jump shot. But even now, it's like his impact is incredible. So I love watching him. I love Şengün. I love everyone on this team.
Yeah. The Terror Twins are the nickname given to Tari Eason and Amen Thompson and the
Great
Terror
nickname.
they impose on offensive players. And yeah, the Rockets are stacked. I think people still are forgetting that Sengun is, I think, 23, maybe just turned 23. Jalen Green also, I think, just turned 23 or is turning 23. Like, they're still super young. Jalen Green, you
I'm
know,
still waiting on that take. I'm still waiting for it to happen.
at the end of the day, this roster is stacked and he still manages to put up like 20 points. So I think, and again, his age, I think you're fine holding your Jalen Green stock, but
I will never sell.
yeah, we'll have to do the 2021 redraft soon because it keeps getting spicier with I mean Mobley and Cade Cunningham, like we talked about, like Jesus Christ, there's and Kuminga,
Dude, give it
Kuminga.
a rest. There's ever
Uh,
be a year for Kuminga to break out. It was this year. And he's still fine. Yeah, I think he's also a player you can hold on to your stocks for. But yeah, fascinating draft. Probably good that we waited on it, or else I would have placed Jalen Green disgustingly high in my redraft. So maybe for the best, I can taper him a little bit. Will I still have him top five? Probably. But yeah, a little shout out to Cade Cunningham. He's amazing. He'll definitely be an all-star. He's spectacular. Just triple double machine. Amazing for fantasy basketball as well.
Man, and Franz and Jalen Johnson this year too have just had insane moments. But okay,
Yeah.
let's put a pin in that. Rockets, yeah, fucking awesome. I don't know if they'll stay at two. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight. Like the Grizzlies are right there at essentially same number of wins. The Nuggets are creeping up. The Mavs are pretty close, but it does feel like they will at least be like a top five seed. So it feels like they're going to avoid the play-in tournament, which is awesome for the Rockets. And it's cool. It's fun. I'm in Houston right now. The vibes are good. Everyone loves the Rockets right now. We haven't talked about any of the rookies. It's funny that like Shepard can't find minutes. It makes sense because they're just like so deep with super talented, super impressive defensive players. They have Fred VanVleet. There's a lot of overlap in their skill sets there. But he dropped like 50 points in the G League like last week. That was pretty cool. They put him down there once. They're like, all right, get out of here. You're too good for this. But the rookie class is like maybe the worst rookie class in years. I cannot remember like the last time we've had a rookie class where it's like none of them are starting, none of them are really even getting valuable minutes. I think the only one who's starting is like maybe Sar, but it's not like he's doing that good. He's on the Wizards, so he's starting. But yeah, the rookie class has been like pretty disappointing, but I think a lot of people foresaw that.
There's some like okay, maybe role players in there, but as far as the top guys, it's been kind of, I guess, as expected. Yeah, even recently with Jalen Johnson out, I wish Risa Shea would step up a little bit more, but hey, he's young, he's shown some flashes, but ultimately not
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's a lot of tough spots for people. Like I'd love to see what who's the guy in the Trailblazers? What's his name again? I don't know. I'm
Clinging.
blanking on his name. Yeah, Klingon. Like I'd love to see what he could do with more minutes. Like because from what I've seen in limited minutes, like he actually looks awesome. But all the guys like Castle's getting a lot of minutes and he's just like so inefficient. His jump shot looks terrible. Yeah, you kind of mentioned Reese Shea. Like can't really crack the lineup. He started at the start of the year. And they were kind of just like DeAndre Hunter is better right now. Not to say that Reese Shea can't get better. His jump shot looks amazing. So I think he'll probably get there at some point. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this class isn't really doing it for me. It's like I'm kind of looking around. I'm like, I'm not really sure who's going to be an all star, if any of them will be, but we'll see. We'll see. There's still some guys I'm holding out hope for.
Yeah, I think Jalen Wells is the guy on the Grizzlies. He's shown a bit of promise.
He's fine. He's a good role player, good pick, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be our all star that we're looking for out of this draft.
The Frenchman in Charlotte, T.
Salon.
He is awful, man. He
Yep.
is,
Yep.
I think, one of the most inefficient rookies I think ever, or something like that. I mean, we still hold out hope for the fellow Frenchman, but yeah, not too much hope there. And I was not very hot on him coming out of the draft. So
Yeah, and he was a little overdrafted as well because he was kind of projected to be like an end of lottery guy, and the Hornets reached for him at 6. But yeah, let's see what we miss. Yeah, it's like Risa Shea, Miss, Sar, Shepard. Oh yeah, Holland at 5. Like, yeah, he can't shoot, but he's kind of fun. Dillingham just like I
mm,
think he's just too small. He's not been able to crack the rotation, but maybe he will be able to eventually. Edie's actually shown flashes. I think Edie's looked really good.
Yeah.
Um, but he's had some injuries. You know, he doesn't always get a ton of minutes, but he's actually been fun. Um,
Jared
that's kind of it.
McCain. Jared McCain obviously got hurt, but
Yeah, he was awesome. He was really the only guy that was like, and you call it. You liked McCain a lot. I was like, I don't really know a ton about him. He was really the only guy that has popped so far out of the rookies.
I think that Reed Shepherd is just not getting the opportunity, and I really do think he is a star in the making.
I agree. He's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy out of this draft.
De Silva has shown Tristan De Silva for Orlando has shown some promise. Bub Carrington,
Yeah,
Devin Carter is finally back and looking okay, but like you said, no standouts. Connect had his kind of his moment.
yeah. His week.
Anyway, I think we part two it. We're down to 1 minute, so we will be right back.
All right, back for part two. To kind of like close out the West, I think the only other team that'd be fun to talk about here would be, maybe there's two left, but quick one just because it's kind of like a off-season move for the Kings getting DeMar DeRozan. That has kind of been predictably terrible. The Kings are quite bad, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, their defense, which was never good, has effectively cratered with DeMar. He's playing fine. He's getting like 20 points per game, kind of his usual stats. He's still clutch. He had some cool buzzer beaters recently, but yeah, they just can't like win games in the West right now. It's like I just don't think they're quite competitive. I think the DeMar DeRozan signing is not looking great, and it feels like it's a little bit of a desperation play by them, and it's a little bit of a mess now because like now there's starting to be rumors about Fox now potentially looking for the door. Nothing concrete yet, but it does feel like if things don't turn around in like the next season, that like end of next year we could be hearing about Fox being on the move and the Kings just pushing the reset button.
Man, it is tough because after such a tough run as a franchise, they finally kind of turned it around, light the beam, everything's.
The beam was awesome. I still like the Kings. I'm still rooting for them.
But yeah, no, tough year so far. The DeMar signing was, yeah, just not what they needed, and it did feel kind of like a desperation, like, oh, this guy's like, you know, close enough to a superstar. Let's have this like pseudo big three, and it's like, no, come on, guys. Yeah, Keegan is underwhelming, man. I've kind of I don't know if I've said it on the pod, but I've definitely gotten to a Reddit argument about how I thought Keegan was so overrated, and these guys are saying no, he's like such a good defender, and I think he is, but like offensively, he's not moving the needle too much. Like he's not what you want. So
Yeah, I'm still tantalized by Keegan Murray's shooting because you remember last year that game where he hit like 11 threes in a game, and I was like, all right, like this guy can shoot the ball like really well, but it's tough to kind of see what his ceiling might be. It's like I don't think he's ever gonna be like an all-star guy. I think he'd be like a really good like stretch four where it's like 3 and D, very efficient from three, high volume. But yeah, it doesn't feel like he's gonna be the guy to step up and save the day for the Kings. It feels a little unsalvageable. It feels like best case scenario, maybe they can work their way out of the play-in at some point and kind of be excited about that. But after the DeMar addition, it's like there's no chance this team actually can compete for a title. So don't totally know what we're doing here, but they'll at least sell more tickets, I guess, having DeMar, Fox, and Sabonis. So maybe that's their agenda. Maybe that was the goal.
sucks because Monk is awesome. I like Keon Ellis. He's
Monk has been so good. My God,
Oh yeah,
he's
Monk's
been
been awesome.
incredible.
Huerta unfortunately has kind of fallen off the face of the earth, but they do have a bit of talent on that roster, and it's not clicking, and that kind of resulted in Mike Brown getting fired. So
That was also insane. They got fired. He was coach of the year like last year. I'm pretty sure.
I
Like
for-
he's a really good coach. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but I swear he won coach of the
no, I think it
year.
was last year, and it gives me deja vu. If I don't know if it was Butenholzer or who it was, but there was another coach of the year that got fired the
Yeah,
following year.
it probably was, but yeah, Mike Brown, coach of the year in 2023, and like yeah, the Kings were awesome last year, the year before. Yeah, it's such a strange thing. It's like Mike Brown was not the problem. It's like the problem was just like that the roster construction essentially went in the opposite direction, where there's like lit their defense on fire this offseason, in hopes that somehow adding DeMar would make this an offensive juggernaut of a team. which is just not because that just makes the spacing worse, even if he's getting 20 points per game. So I don't know. I think it was really more so the front office that made this team deteriorate, not Mike Brown. But it'll be a hot name out there this offseason. Like he's going to get another head coaching job, and the Kings will probably feel stupid about it.
Yeah, no, it's getting kind of ugly because it's like yeah, they rebuild, but they do have such a good roster, so it's like they can try to tweak, but I don't know, it gets ugly. Like the fact that Fox is in trade rumors is a bit surreal because of I don't know how good him and Sabonis are on paper, but
Yeah, and they like chose Fox. Like when they had Fox and Halliburton, they were like, Fox is me the guy we build around for the next 10 years. And if Fox is off the roster, like next year, it's like, okay, this is over. It essentially the rebuild failed. So this is gonna be a big, it feels like this year's not gonna be the year for the Kings. They'll have to kind of retool next offseason and see what they can come up with. But it does feel like they're on the clock now. They're almost like on the hot seat as a playoff contending team. And if we just see it as they continue to slide down the standings.
yeah. Uh I guess OKC, I just wanted to give them their flowers. Obviously, they
Totally.
are the second best team in the NBA. And before Chet got injured, just how he was playing, I'm like, this guy, like this is really a future superstar. Like top, I don't want to put a number, but top 15, top 10, who knows? Like he's that guy. So too bad he got hurt, but when he's back, OKC is definitely contending very hard this year.
Yeah. I love like and it's always box office when it's like him against Wemby when they play the Spurs. Because like weirdly, like they are very similar molds. Wemby's a little bit taller, maybe a little more generational, but like both are insane. They're both just massive, super long, super lean, great ball handlers for their size, great shooters, insane shot blockers. Like Chet is amazing. Like I know we only got like a couple of games out of Chet, but like watching those games, I was like, he's gonna be an all-star this year. This guy's insane. Like this Thunder team is ridiculous because like J Dub also has taken another step to where it's like he's gonna be an all-star this year now. And the iHeart signing was insane. iHeart is amazing. He's like the perfect center. He's just got like an amazing push shot, amazing finisher. He's huge. He's a bruiser. He's a great rebounder.
Oh yeah.
He's just awesome. Like and like the deal this offseason where it's like I think it was 3 years, 90 million. It was like 30 million a year for a backup center. Like that feels kind of weird. But no, he's totally worth it. He's so good. He's like legitimately an awesome starting center.
Yeah, I'm a Hartenstein guy till I die. No, I'm not going to say what I came to my head. I was going to say, but I'm not going to say that. Like, I might rather have him over Cat.
I knew you were gonna say that. I would not, but
I would not, but it's close because I just think Hart does everything you want, as far as just like defense, passing. The scoring could be a bit better, and that's where Cat just like destroys him. But yeah,
yeah,
he's just the most under. I think he's getting his flowers, but I think he's just very underrated for how he impacts the game.
yeah. It feels like even he could be like a fringe all-star guy. He'd miss some time at the start of the year, and frankly, the West is too stacked for him to get into the all-star game. But I don't know. It feels like there needs to be some kind of different award for him because he's awesome. Like he deserves something for what he's doing.
An
Because he was just like
unbelievable.
maybe he'll be like most improved or something like that. Because like his stats are like amazing as like someone who's just like been a career backup center essentially. Granted, like he was amazing for the Knicks last year, and everyone like could tell that he was an awesome player. But I don't think people thought he was like a 30 plus minutes per night awesome starting center.
And it's the defense. I think people don't realize that this guy is one of the best big man defenders. And then, Caruso was a nice addition. You have like Aaron Wiggins, who's showing some nice upside, and not a lot of notes on just kind of this team needs to be healthy. And I expect to see them in the finals. I mean, SGA is like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's incredible. He's got a good chance at MVP this year too. I think he's like second in odds right now. And if the Thunder are like by far the top seed, I think he's probably going to get it because although like Jokic's stats are always undefeated, I do think that voter fatigue might catch up to
Yeah.
Jokic this year if the Thunder are by far and away the best team. So I don't know. I think Shea's got a chance at MVP, And this team looks like it's going to be a perennial finals contender for the next decade. Like just like looking at the West right now, it's like as stacked as the West is, it's like the Thunder are just in a tier of their own. All of their guys love each other. They're all under contract right now. It's the roster has been assembled perfectly. And they still just have like a million picks too. They don't even need them. I don't know what they're going to do with them because they don't need any more players. This is already a finals team. So very happy for OKC fans. Like this team is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah. And just kind of a random thought, but their coach, obviously, Mark Daigneault, or however you say it.
Dagnall.
Is it Mark Dagnall?
Yeah, I think it's Mark Dagnall.
I just
There's
want
a
to
little
say there's just coaches that are so poised and like the good vibes, and then you just have like the whiny, angry, like coaches, and I don't know. I feel like those guys are so out. Like when I just see Doc Rivers or Steve Kerr or the Sixers, Nick Nurse, it's like you guys
yeah.
need to just chill the fuck out. Like I don't know, just yeah. I just felt the need to say that. Like I so love having. I mean, Missoula has his moments, but he's a pretty collected guy for the most part, and I feel like that is just the vibe. So anyway,
Yeah, I think so too. It's like I think when your coach is level-headed, your team kind of takes on that personality. Whereas when you do have more of an explosive coach, I don't know, it's like your team can really feel the mood swings with the coach. And I think you're right about that. I think Dagnall is perfect. He's a coach I just never hear from. I never hear from him in the media. It's like there's never any headlines from him. He just like does his job. He coaches the team perfectly. And I think that really just sets them up for consistency and success. But, although he's doing a great job, it's like undeniable that this roster is just like insane. So that does make his job a ton easier. He's got a way less stressful job than some of these other guys.
yeah, no, for sure. I think people don't talk about him because they're afraid to mispronounce his name, but
That could be it. That could be it. We're not afraid to mispronounce it. We will shamelessly mispronounce it.
I shamelessly mispronounced it. So, but since we mentioned Doc Rivers being a whiny guy, I the
Guy.
Bucks are kind of rallying,
They are. They are.
but I still just hate that team. I hate the minute allocation, and I just kind of wanted to give like a negative shout out to them because Giannis is such a talent. He's still at the peak of his career, and I don't know. They just piss me off, and like I have Bobby Portis in fantasy, so it's fantasy bias, blah blah blah. But like, why are you giving Brooke Lopez like 32 minutes to Bobby's 24? They're giving like Andre Jackson Jr. like 20 minutes, and you have I don't know, you have Gary Trent, like you have some nice pieces there, and I don't understand the rotations. I don't understand why they're so bad, and it's because of Doc Rivers. I solely blame him, and yeah, that's all there is to say for me.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And they might be the team where it's like their window's closing the fastest because you always like look around the roster. It's like they're just so old now. It's like Brooke is like, 37 or 38. Middleton is like come back and now he's coming off the bench. Yeah, he actually hasn't looked terrible in my opinion, but I think it is clear that his best days are behind him, at least for the time being. Maybe he can like kind of play his way back from his injury, but he's just been dealing with a lot of stuff recently. He's getting a little bit older now. Lillard and Giannis still look awesome, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like this team is going to need some kind of way to get younger in the near future, or yeah, things might come to a halt. But with that said, like anything can still happen when you have Giannis and Lillard. So we'll kind of see. And they've actually been kind of awesome recently. And they won the in-season tournament. So like
Yeah,
banner season for the Bucks. So
it's true.
maybe we're kind of hating for no reason.
No, they're in that tier below, I think, the Celtics and the Cavs for me, where, like you said, anything could happen and there's talent on that roster, but they do frustrate me. Especially in regards to having Bobby Portis in fantasy. And I'm like, dude, if they just gave him 30 minutes, he is like the third best scorer on that team. Bobby Portis is awesome, but they just refuse to give him minutes for God knows what reason. Play him next to
Yeah.
Giannis. Your defense isn't going to suffer too much, I promise. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to do like a quick lightning round and just like kind of like just like run through a couple of teams and I just want to give like one sentence on a couple of them that we didn't touch on. We don't need to talk a ton about them.
Sure, I'm down.
But like for the Spurs, I just want to be like Wemby's amazing. He's awesome. He'll be an all-star. Love him. He's like the best player in the world to watch. Pelicans have cratered. I don't know what the fuck the Pelicans need to do now. It's like Jesus. It's like just everybody's injured. They traded for DeJounte. Maybe it would have worked, but just nobody has played. They want to trade Ingram. Ingram's hurt. I don't know if anybody wants Ingram. His contract's also up this year, so he might walk for nothing. Zion is suspended now, and I don't know why he's suspended, but he is. I think
Late.
The Pelicans like maybe might be actually the biggest disaster story of this season, which is tragic because like every year I'm bullish on the Pelicans because I subjectively love their roster, but no, they've been a total disaster.
Hey, the Trey Murphy averaging like 20
They have
plus
so many good
points.
players. Trey Murphy's
Yeah.
amazing. They have so many good players. Even like their rookie Missy is really good. Herb Jones is still awesome. Like they have so many talented players. I just don't understand how they aren't good. This year's a little more understandable since everybody's hurt, but
Yeah.
even before everyone got hurt, they were still sucking. So is what it is. Also in that same vein with the Hawks, Dyson Daniels is amazing. He's like the best defensive guard like since Marcus Smart. And his steals per game are like ridiculous. I think he's still averaging more than 3 steals per game, which is absurd. He's actually a really good player. I think that trade worked out very nicely for the Hawks. Like he's made their defense better. And all of a sudden they've constructed this team now where it's like you got Trey Young leading it. He's averaging way less points per game, but way more assists per game. He's leading the league in assists. And then around him, you have these awesome defenders and like Dyson Daniels. You've got Jalen Johnson, who will potentially be an all-star this year. He's been amazing. Hunter's actually been really good and efficient this year. You still have Capella, who's a solid defender. So that the Hawks have done a good job, I think.
They're still just like, I don't know. I
They're
think
still
there's,
mid. They're still kind of
yeah,
in that like mid tier, but I like the roster construction a lot better right now.
me too. But it's like, damn, you would expect a few more wins, considering Trey Young has gone selfless and like you said, Jalen Johnson. I mean, my God, I think he should be an all-star, but obviously now dealing with some shoulder injury. But the roster isn't stacked, but I'm like, yeah, damn, I wish they were playing a bit better considering how it feels like things are meshing and they're playing quality basketball. But
Yeah, they kind of feel like the. I was gonna say they kind of just feel like the Knicks light, where it's like they have this just like awesome point guard and then just awesome defenders around him. Obviously, the Knicks leveled up now with Cat, but it's like a very similar roster construction to what the Knicks did last year. I think that's probably what they were trying to replicate.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. Like, the Lakers traded D'Lo to the back to the Nets to lead that tanking effort, which is a great home for D'Lo. I think they traded him for like Royce O'Neal or something. So like, sure, not a lot to report there. Still hate the Lakers, but they're the 6th seed, so they'll probably make the playoffs. And I think that's pretty much it for my lightning round. I think the rest of these teams are kind of like as expected, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got. What about you? Anything quickly you want to shout out from just like standings, players, fantasy, whatever it might be?
Um, yeah, just I guess some teams like I think the Nuggets and Russell Westbrook, that's a cool
Oh
little
yeah,
run.
it's so
Um,
odd, but
that team
absolutely.
still there's some definitely some big question marks, but I think that you can't count the Nuggets out. Of contention with Jokic and Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. We're seeing them kind of deal with some injuries and inconsistencies, but things could come together. In a similar vein, I think the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, we kind of, they're each dealing with Luka's injured right now. The chemistry's not great, but they're staying afloat and they're doing, even better, I'd say, than staying afloat. They're doing pretty well. And the Grizzlies, it's like, I don't know, some injuries, and I think Desmond Bain is kind of underperforming. But they're third in the West, and it's like if things click, they have a really nice roster. And I don't know. I feel like if Desmond Bain, can put up 23, 24 a night, then this team is like dangerous. So
Yeah, yeah. With the Grizzlies, quick shout out to my boy Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been amazing for my fantasy team. But for like the last month, the Grizzlies have finally started playing him more than 30 minutes per game, which maybe in part is due to like injuries, so they just need him to do more. But with that, he has like looked incredible. I actually think he is like one of the most offensively talented big men in the league. And then he's also just like one of the best rim protectors. Like if he averaged more rebounds, like people would have him at like the way top of their list for like best centers in the league. But yeah, it's a little hard to look past like the 7 rebounds per game, but his scoring is incredible. He's legitimately so good. So I love him, and he's pretty much what's kept the Grizzlies this high in the standings, even with like John Morant missing a bunch of time. Bane was out for a little while and struggling. He has just been an Iron Man for them this year, which is like, kind of surprising because he usually has his own injury struggles, but he's been amazing.
It's funny, nobody on that team averages more than 30 minutes, I think. They all average like 28, 29 minutes. Um,
It's
but
probably
yeah,
smart.
yeah. But yeah, Jaren is a talent, and it's usually the rebounding and the lack of minutes that kind of makes him not a fantasy god. But like as soon as he has those 35 minute nights, I had him last year. Like yeah, the combination of points and blocks and some rebounds, he's awesome. Yeah, mini shout out Santi Aldama and Scottie Pippen
Yeah,
Jr.
yeah.
Scottie Pippen Jr., man, you've heard me say his name on the pod before, and he's establishing himself as a very solid NBA role player. So shout out both of them.
Yep, they're great.
Um,
Anything else you got? That's kind of it for the teams that are intriguing me. And we definitely skipped over some, but we can certainly hit them the next time.
I guess last one would just be the Magic, who,
Oh yeah, yeah, good one, good one. I
if
don't know how they've been
healthy,
so good.
yeah, no, but if well, if Franz and Paolo can be in great health, like that's another very intriguing team. And we've said it a million times, but Paolo is insane. He can be the number one guy on.
Yeah, yeah, he's a superstar, and like Franz took another step this year that was I think was a little unforeseen because like although he was amazing, I think we kind of said this off season where it's like Franz is amazing, but he's kind of like a fringe all star. Whereas this year, it's like I think he very easily would have made the All Star game if he hadn't gotten injured recently. That might make it a little bit trickier, but it's insane that the Magic are fourth right now, considering that like Banchero has effectively missed the entire season. Like he got hurt in like the third or fourth game of the season.
Mm.
But like Franz has been incredible for them. Suggs has been really nice. Um, that's kind of it though. I don't know how they're fourth.
That's
I'm like,
that's a good
I don't know if
point.
I'm forgetting anybody, but like, no, it's like I think they just play like really hard on defense, and like Francis has effectively just carried them. Shout
Yeah,
out Goga. Goga's been nice.
Goga has stepped up at the five, but yeah, there's not a bunch of names. I mean, Cole Anthony very recently, in Suggs' absence, has shown that he's a great player, which I feel like we already knew, but they just weirdly never find the time for him when they're healthy.
Yeah, he's almost like a Peyton Pritchard, where he's just like really small, so it
Yeah.
feels you can't start him or give him a ton of minutes because they care so much about their defense, and that's just not his strong suit. But he's always been a super talented scorer.
But yeah, no, yeah, and then they have some like little interesting pieces here and there. But yeah, hopefully they can stay healthy because they're a very fun team. And like you said, seeing Franz ball out, especially in Paolo's absence, was very promising, I think, for his future and their future. So that's it. I think I've covered everything. I was kind of forcing there, but
Nope, that's all right. Excellent lightning round.
well,
Wrap up time.
wrap up time.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this most recent episode of the Harold Basketball Show. I know it's super scatterbrained, but we had a lot of ground to make up there, and we kind of just want to touch on like as many team storylines as possible, and really just have fun with it. This is more for us, so it was very nice to get back behind the mic, chat with you, Paul, talk ball. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll try to come out with another episode kind of soon. I'd love to do like we did a lot of talks about like guys who could be all stars, so that might be a fun episode to actually just go through the list and be like, all right, like who do we actually think is going to be an all star come February?
Yeah, no, the voting has started, so we'll have to make our picks. The 2021 redraft. I
We
know
have to do it. It's coming.
everyone is spamming in the comments. It'll happen, guys. Calm down. But yeah, no, it's been super fun, and hopefully we'll get some episodes out as the season continues. So, God bless. Like, subscribe,
Of course.
sponsor us.
Yeah, absolutely. Pay us whatever you want to do. Subscribe to Patreon, whatever it might be. But thank you all. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you, guys.